Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something really cool, the intersection of topology, that's the study of spatial properties, and game theory. We're going to see how playing a game can actually reveal the deepest secrets of a mathematical space. So, let's kick things off with a big question that drives this entire field. How can the dynamic, turn-by-turn action of a game possibly describe something as abstract and, well, static as a topological property? It seems a little weird, right? But it's an incredibly powerful idea, and we're about to unpack exactly how it works. Here's our roadmap for today. We'll start with why these two fields were brought together in the first place. Then we'll define the rules of the game, look at the classic example, explore some other key games, and finally, we'll talk about the pretty profound implications of this whole approach. Okay, let's dive right in. So, why would we even want to frame topology in the language of games? Well, the answer really lies in shifting our perspective from something static to something truly dynamic. Think about it. On one hand, you have topology, which describes these fixed, inherent properties of a space. Like, is it all one piece? Does it have holes? These are just static truths about the object. On the other hand, you have games, which are all about sequences of choices, developing strategies, and outcomes that emerge from player actions. The absolutely brilliant insight here is to translate those static properties into the framework of a game between two players. It makes these really abstract concepts interactive and, procedural.
So let's move on and see how these games are actually put together. What are the common rules? What's the general setup?
At its core, a topological game is basically an infinite duel of wits. You've got two players, usually just called player I and player 2, and they're playing on a topological space. But their moves aren't what you'd expect, like placing pieces on a board. Instead, they're choosing things like open sets. You can kind of think of these as regions without their hard boundaries. Or sometimes they choose specific points, all according to a set of rules. The gameplay itself unfolds in this really structured turn-by-turn sequence. Player I makes a move, then player 2 responds. Player I makes another move, player 2 responds again. And this just keeps going, theoretically, for an infinite number of rounds, creating what's called a play of the game. Now, you're probably wondering, how do we know who won after this infinite sequence of moves? Well, it all comes down to a winning condition that was defined right at the start. And this rule, this is the secret sauce. This is precisely where the topology gets encoded. It connects the player's actions to a specific property of the space we want to investigate. To make all this concrete, let's look at the pioneering example that really started it all, the Banach-Mazur game. It's the perfect illustration of these ideas in action. The rules here are just beautiful in their simplicity. Player I picks an open set. Then player 2 has to respond by picking a smaller open set that's completely inside player I's set. Then it's player I's turn again, and they have to pick an even smaller open set inside player 2's last move, and so on and so on. They end up creating this sequence of nested, shrinking open sets, like Russian dolls. So how is a winner decided in this chase? Well, after their infinite sequence of choices, they look at the intersection of all those nested sets they created. If that intersection point, or points, contains even a single point from a predefined target set, X, then player I wins. You can see player I is trying to zero in on the target, while player 2 is doing everything they can to steer the intersection away from it. And this right here, this is the magic. The outcome of the game is directly equivalent to a really deep topological property. If player 2 has a guaranteed way to win, no matter what player I does, then the target set X is what we call meager, which means it's topologically small or thin. But if player I can force a win, then X is co-meager in some region. It's topologically large or substantial. And if we just know that the game is guaranteed to have a winner, we don't care who, then the set X has the property of Baire, which is a kind of topological regularity. A property of a set is literally translated into the existence of a winning plan. How cool is that? Now, the Banach-Mazur game was really just the beginning. By tweaking the rules just a little bit, mathematicians have designed a whole host of games to investigate all sorts of different topological properties. For instance, there's the Choquette game. It's a subtle variation that helps us characterize completeness, which is this fundamental idea in analysis that makes sure sequences that look like they should converge actually do. Or you have the point-open game, where player I picks points and player 2 has to trap them in open neighborhoods. This helps characterize properties related to density. And then there are selection games, sometimes called covering games, where players choose elements from open covers of the space. This gives us a really powerful game-theoretic way to understand different flavors of compactness. You know, that crucial property about being able to find a finite subcover? Each game is like a specialized tool designed for a specific topological job. Okay, let's shift our focus a little bit. Instead of looking at the rules of a specific game, let's think about the very nature of winning itself. This is where things get even more abstract and, frankly, even more interesting. So, what does it really mean to have a winning strategy? It's not just about having a clever idea. It's a complete deterministic algorithm. It's basically a function that takes the entire history of the opponent's moves and spits out the perfect move that guarantees you a win, no matter what the other player does. It's a perfect plan, a cheat code, really. This leads to a really crucial question. Is every single game determined? In other words, for any given game, does it have to be the case that either player I or player 2 has a winning strategy right from the very beginning? You might think, well, of course, someone has to have the advantage, but it's not quite that simple. And here we hit something truly profound, a connection to the very foundations of mathematics. It turns out that using the axiom of choice, which is this powerful, sometimes controversial principle that lets you make infinitely many arbitrary choices all at once, it can be proven that some topological games exist where neither player has a winning strategy. The game is just fundamentally undecidable. The outcome isn't preordained, and a perfect plan simply might not exist for either side. It's a wild thought. So, what's the big picture here? What's the main takeaway from this powerful fusion of topology and game theory? This game-theoretic viewpoint, it's not just some clever trick for studying topology. It actually creates a powerful bridge that links it to all these other advanced areas. For example, in descriptive set theory, the complexity of sets is often analyzed using infinite games. The same tools apply. It gives us a common language and a whole new set of methods for tackling problems across logic, set theory, and even infinite graph theory. Ultimately, if you remember one thing, it should be this. Topological games reimagine static properties as dynamic processes. They let us use the concepts of choice, strategy, and interaction to probe the very structure of abstract spaces. It's a completely different and incredibly fruitful way of thinking about these things. And this leaves us with a final, provocative thought. If this approach works so incredibly well for topology, what other seemingly static areas of mathematics are just sitting there, waiting to be understood through the dynamic lens of a game? It's a question that opens up a whole universe of possibilities.